And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Dawg Talk podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Reno. Alongside me, co-host Dan Kiley, Koby Pyrz, and the boss, Radi Nabulsi, joins us. Radi, first time on the show. It's actually kind of fitting that we're on your platform now. So thank you for joining us, but also thank you for letting us do this on your platform.
Dude, it's absolutely my pleasure to have guys that actually know what they're talking about to be on our channel. It's a win-win for me. I don't pay any of you sons of bitches, so it's good for me to have you guys come on and work for free. I love it. This is a win. Nah, but I do appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, there's definitely a specific reason we have you on. You know, you are known as this insider of sorts here in regards to Georgia football. Transfer portal just wrapped up last Friday. So we thought, go ahead and kick it off, ask you a couple questions. I guess to start, we'll touch on this first. Just give us, I guess, for our sense, kind of what were your thoughts on the 2025 season as a whole? And I guess it was, the 2025 season as a whole, and kind of where you at now looking to the future.
On July 1st, it was the first day that we were live with On3. We figured we'd have a kind of a kickoff story, something, let's have something to let people know who we are when we join the On3 network. And I said, okay, let's everybody put out a prediction of what the season's going to be. I don't know what I wound up predicting, but I said that, look, this is going to be a rebuilding year. You've lost 15 guys to the NFL. You lost another 15 to 20 to the transfer portal. You got all these new guys coming in. You've got all these freshmen that are going to have to contribute. This is a rebuild. This isn't a reload. You're used to reloads from the past, but this is an absolute build it from the ground floor up. You got to build a new offensive line. 4 of those guys got drafted. You got a new quarterback. You got new wide receivers. You got new defensive line, new guys on the edge. I mean, really, the only thing you had that was experienced were your tight ends, your inside linebackers. You needed new safeties, so it's an absolute reload. And the fact that they lost 2 games by 3 points, won the SEC, that is overachieving by anybody's standard. If you told any team ahead of it saying, hey, here's all the guys you're going to lose, and you're still going to, not only win the SEC, but you're going to beat the team that is your nemesis. You're going to beat the brakes off Alabama. You'd have taken it. So they overachieved. Then they underachieved. That was not their best game against Ole Miss. So they could have beaten Ole Miss. They proved they could before, and they just didn't play the game they wanted to. So we have that bad taste in our mouth. But to me, 2025 was not the year you would win it all. Too many guys starting for the first time. 2026, though. You should be you'll definitely be in the top 3. I know everybody's going to be talking about Indiana and Ohio State's right. It's going to be right back where they were. Some of these other teams that loaded up in the portal are going to be highly ranked, but Georgia's got an easier schedule, and all those guys, this was their first year, will be going into their second year. Kirby talked about how it was a young team, so you didn't go crazy in the portal. I thought they would. I knew they had a war chest, but they had to use that war chest to hang on to the guys they had. So still, it's a good roster. I'll take it. I'll take Georgia's 1 through 44 versus anybody else's 1 through 44.
Dan, Koby?
Yeah, I love it. I love to hear, Radi, I think that a lot of people don't understand where you're talking about, like, hey, we got a lot of money to spend. Why don't we seem like we're spending it? It's because keeping the roster intact is so critical, right? Like there are some guys that, you've reported there were whispers. The whispers became like very quickly actual word of mouth that they weren't happy with the number they were getting paid. They were going to need more to stay. And you delivered. You paid both the guys, you paid everybody, and that you wanted to be here is here at the moment. I think that's something important and such a hard thing as a coach at any level to understand what level of talent retention do I have to keep? What level of the 2 deep do I have to keep in order to be competitive next year? If it was easy, GMs would have long careers in the NFL, right? It just doesn't go that way. Who do I pay this extra $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to? Yeah, maybe you swing and miss here and there on a guy you take or on a guy you take a chance on, but there are just a couple of those guys, the running backs, quarterback, that you had to write the checks, and you couldn't have the whispers of, well, maybe somebody's willing to pay double, triple, quadruple the amount of money you are to have that level of player on their roster.
I mean, you look at we were told that they had a really nice war chest, and these are people who, I mean, think about it. You were basically reaching out to boosters, donors, and such saying, look, we need NIL. We're not even sure who it's going to be, but this is somebody, and technically you have to get this NIL deal approved. Now, that seems to be out the window, but ostensibly you were going to have to justify paying these guys this amount of money. And they still had people, Georgia fans, Georgia money people, who we all crap on. We always want to spend somebody else's money. Hey, they need to spend more. These are real people. These are guys like you and me. Well, not broke people like us, but real people with a business who have to take an Isaiah Canyon and say, look, you've got to do something for my business that's going to give me some sort of return on investment, or at least qualify as a legitimate NIL expense. And there were people who pledged money sight unseen on the talent that was out there. And then the coaches basically went to them and said, hey, I know we were talking about a new guy coming in, but I need you to help me keep Sokovie White. I need you to help us keep Dontrell Glover, Justin Williams, Chris Cole, Zayden Walker, Isaiah Gibson. You can't tell me teams didn't come after Elijah Griffin. I mean, I'll call you a liar. Now, did they reach out to him personally? I'm not saying that, but, reach out to his agent, reach out to his representation? Absolutely. So we like the new shiny thing. We want to know, who did we get in the portal? And I've been arguing with people online all day, all night about, well, Kirby Smart needs to get with the times. I'm like, get with the times? Hell, do you realize that all of your top receivers last year came through the portal? Your lead running back last year came through the portal. I mean, this was a guy who went out and got Lawrence Cager. His first year, he got Maurice Smith. I mean, this is a guy who, you can question a lot of stuff about Kirby Smart, but don't question his roster management. That's just, I mean, we got to get 10 years. He's had the best rosters, top to bottom, pretty much. Let's give him credit there. We can argue, Dan can tell me I'm an idiot for thinking that Mike Bobo shouldn't be fired, or Koby can tell me I'm a moron for thinking Glenn Schumann is a pretty good defensive backs coach. But the one thing where you can't question at Georgia is the fact that Kirby Smart's MO, his raison d'etre is, I'm going to have the best roster. My guys will beat your guys.
I felt like in this portal season, obviously Cam Coleman is the guy that everybody would want on their roster, but I felt like Isaiah Canyon was a guy who can have an immediate impact on this roster. I don't know that he's going to be as good as Zachariah Branch was for us. Hell, I don't think anybody knew that Zachariah Branch was going to be as good as he was, but he was phenomenal. He was amazing. And I know you know a little bit about Isaiah Canyon. How do you see him fitting in on this roster? Because I think he has a chance to be really good.
Well, I mean, he's not going to play that same position, so
Sure.
he won't get those same spots. But you saw how important it was to have a Colby Young.
Mm-hmm.
When Colby went down, you were scuffling until Noah Thomas got better. I mean, and when Noah was here, remember the first 3 or 4 games, everyone kept asking, where's Noah Thomas? And I'm like, look, well, who did you want them to not throw to? Because when you ask for another guy to get the ball, that means you don't want it to go to somebody else. So do you not want to throw it to Zach Branch? Do you not want to throw it to Colby Young? Do you not want to throw it to Dylan Bell, London Humphreys? Who do you want to get those spots? I mean, those are reps. And remember when he first got in against Florida, he had the ball go through his hands for an interception. Then he misses on a big block, and you're like, this is why he ain't playing. And I was told, I'm like, when he got here, they said, he's not as good as we thought. We're all thinking, dude, this was Texas A&M's leading wide receiver. You went hard in the portal, remember? You spent money. You went and got him. And then he got better. And then Colby Young came back, and you saw, even in that one game, what he gives to Georgia. You got to have that big receiver, and that's what you're getting Isaiah Canyon. So you didn't replace Zach Branch. You didn't replace his production, but you are looking to replace that Dylan Bell or, Colby Young or Noah Thomas production. You got to have that receiver. Got to have that red zone guy. Got to have somebody who can get those contested balls. The folks at Georgia Tech will tell you he wasn't as good and that Georgia overpaid for him. But we say that about anybody that leaves. I had Clemson fans tell me, we're so glad Khalil Barnes is gone. I'm like, you're on crack. There's a multi-year starter. Do you want him gone? Okay, I'll believe you. And we're the same way about anybody that left Georgia. We're like, he's not going to be that good. I had people tell me, well, it's okay to lose Dominic Kelly. I'm like, Dominic Kelly is your Damon Wilson. That's a huge loss. When losing all those starts Janelle Aguero had, that's a huge loss. But I see Isaiah Canyon coming in and being that big receiver. And then who puts up the yardage in those tunnel screens and bubble screens that Branch did? Sokovie White, London Humphreys. Those will be my two guys that I'm running those plays with.
I guess.
Talon Taylor. Talon can do it. He's a little taller than that, but I mean, they love Talon Taylor, by the way.
Going off that, JJ Moore said the concern for me is we didn't go after a number one receiver. I guess kind of going off that, because I know you were all over, you first put on the tracker days before it ended up happening about Caden Lee. And I think some Georgia fans kind of got the hopes up a little bit. And then obviously things progressed and you came back when he entered the portal and says, hey, there's not a spot. I guess what's the deal in terms of the scholarship, situation for Georgia? Is that so much so, hey, we don't have a spot in our receiver room for him? Or is that, hey, we're kind of up against the cap of where we want to be in terms of scholarship limit?
I think they're up against the cap. Two caps, one pay cap. That kid's going to require a lot of money. And if you bring a guy in who's making double or triple what all your other wide receivers are, that gives you a very sour, not only room, but sour team. Kirby hasn't done that yet. And I will say that, and I wrote it before Georgia lost that Ole Miss game. I said, this team has been one of my favorites to cover because they are so connected. And Koby can talk about the feelings in the locker room, that being part of that team and how the guys are connected. And you can get cliques and you can have guys that don't like each other, even at the same position, or this position group doesn't like that position group. You can have you get 105 dudes together and alpha guys, there's potential for animosity and jealousy and intrigue and such. This team they were all rowing the same way. It wasn't like last year where you had some absolute knuckleheads that, the leadership had to try to work around. You had a very good locker room, and they overperformed because they were all going the same way. If you bring in a guy like that who wants a lot of money, that's going to be a problem. Also, you got 12 wide receivers plus a bunch of walk-ons. How many? It's at some point you just got to say, "Hey, we'd love to have them if we had extra room, but we signed all our guys." So,
well, not only that, but you have some really, really talented tight ends that are going to come into their own this year as well for pass catchers. I mean, at some point,
14 personnel.
There's only one football to go around, There's only so many people that can eat at the table at some point, and when you have guys, 3, 4 tight ends that you're possibly really excited about the ability to what they can do with the ball in their hands. Then on top of, you got 2 really good running backs, a running back out of the portal, and then all the pass catchers. But just to kind of expand on Radi's point of, you got 105 back, 135 guys in a locker room. You don't think 2018, Jake Fromm, Justin Fields locker room, button some heads, and that was before anybody was getting paid. I mean, just imagine. I really can't imagine like the thought process that goes through a starting quarterback's head when a 5-star, kid comes in and is getting paid equal amounts or more than what you are. And, at that point, it also pits against the fan base is like, we paid this guy $2 million. Why isn't he playing? It definitely gets a little messy in a hurry. And I just think about some of those years and some of those guys and some of those transfers that came in and maybe didn't gel right away because it's tough. I mean, I love Cam Nislek. He's a stud punter. Love him. But coming from Columbia, I think it took him a little while to find his groove with some of these, fellas on the team. Like, that wasn't his same group of guys that he was used to. Now, when he found them, he gelled as well as anybody. He's a great teammate and all those things. But I remember those winter workouts, like, he was looking around saying things as a leader at Columbia in the locker room at Georgia, and guys are looking at him sideways like, hey, punter boy. Like, I may not be flying around here so well. So, it is just – it's crazy. It's a lot of different personalities you're molding in, and people don't realize the amount of time these guys spend together, right? I mean, we're talking about during fall camp, 16 hours of every day for 10 to 14 days. And then in season, I mean, you're in the facility 7 days a week. There are no off days. So you better hope you like the guy sitting next to you, because you see a lot of them.
I'm with you there. So they go back and forth. It was evident in the the prospect group chat, and they've done it on lives. Like, hey, who's getting the most money in NIL? They all know. Wide receivers, they all know each other's deal. No one is not telling the other guys what they're getting paid and what they got out of it. And Cam Coleman goes in the portal, and the first thing we hear is he's $2 million. Well, we heard he was going to be a $2 million guy in November. Okay, before the portal's even a thought. And actually, he was one of the first guys we mentioned because we started our portal track on November 30th. We're like, hey, I'm just telling you, a lot of people expect this guy to go with the portal, and keep an eye on it. Then in early December, we hear it's $2 million. Dash is in New Orleans. He hears it's 3.5. Then we hear it's $4 million. Trey Richardson, same thing. Trey Richardson comes. Harrison talked to his agent. He's like, oh, yeah, he had a nice visit, which was code for they didn't offer him near enough money. He's going to Texas. Then he winds up at Louisville. And let's say you were able to sign a Cam Coleman, you were able to sign a Trey Richardson, and you bring in a guy who's going to make $3.5 million. That's more than what you're paying your three best players combined. I don't know if anybody's making like $1 million at UGA, maybe the QBs. But you're going to come in and say, yeah, this guy is $3.5 million. If you're a left tackle, you're like, well, I'm not getting that kind of money. So what are you going to do? So they won't go crazy in the portal for money like that when you can get, it's not that Georgia's poor. It's just, hey, let's keep our money let's keep Koby White here who knows our system. Let's keep Lawson. Hey, Lawson, we know you could go pro, but if you stick around, we really got you. You can't tell me that Ethan Barbour and Elias Williams didn't have crazy offers, and Dontrell Glover and Juan Gaston. So you could go all in on one top wide receiver, or you can keep the players you have who plug and play. And I'll tell you, speaking to people who talk to Kirby, his pet peeve with this whole thing, because trust me, he likes to get rid of some of the guys that didn't work out. They missed on some guys, let them go. His number one thing is you come in as a freshman, you don't play, but you learn. So redshirt sophomore year, or redshirt freshman year, or sophomore year, you're really starting to make the turn. Now you've put on the weight, you've put on the muscle, you've gotten faster, but now you've got the knowledge. Junior year or redshirt sophomore year, when you are now going to contribute, Damon Wilson, this is your time. They're gone. Transfer to Miami, transfer to Missouri, transfer wherever. You're like, son of a bitch, why do we just waste 2.5 years training you to play just to go somewhere else? It's like, look, if you're going to come in and you're going to leave later, leave quickly, please. Don't let us waste our time on you. So that's Kirby Smart's approach to it. It's like, don't let me waste my time, because there's nothing more frustrating than counting on a guy like that and him bolting out.
Dan, you got one real quick, or take this one from the audience?
Go ahead, take the audience one. That's fine.
All right, real quick. From Williams, how do y'all think the big Alabama A&M kid will fare for us? Tyquez Richardson. I know it's kind of a tough question because we're still learning about him for the most part, but I mean, Radi, correct me if I'm wrong. That's kind of like a depth competition piece more so than like this isn't going to be Karius Kearney, who you were looking at to potentially come in and start for you or compete right away.
I mean, he's not Ernest Green. He's not Juan Gaston. He's not Ikene Oboko. So, hell, I mean, may not be Michael Weenie. probably better than John Jackson. But other than that, I just don't. We saw starters come in. Everybody got excited because this guy started every game there. His PFF grades were pretty average. And when we had Travaris Robinson the first week of fall camp, we asked him about his 3 transfer safeties. And he said, well, I'll tell you what we learned. We learned you can starting somewhere else doesn't mean you can start at the University of Georgia. And that was a backhanded compliment to say, basically, these guys are in over their heads. They got a long way to go. And we didn't even see 2 of them play at all practically. So, and Zion Branch, I mean, standing on the wrong hash on that long completion on Ole Miss's final drive. It's just, there's a lot to it. And just because you start at another school doesn't mean you can start at Georgia. Hell, I mean, again, Noah Thomas, best wide receiver Texas A&M had. He wasn't going to play a whole lot until Colby Young got hurt. So I'm not expecting much out of the Takis Richardson.
I think you hit on something that was really kind of important where you talked about how, that first year on campus, you're not really expected to play. I mean, obviously some guys do get a little bit of playing time, but for the most part, not. And then, within 2 years, you get that development, you're able to contribute, right? So, when these people want all these people to come into the portal, Kirby has a system in the way that he wants to do it, and he has the way he wants to develop. And we've seen proof of concept in that way, where it's very difficult to bring in somebody who you don't know what their workload was like or how their training was or anything like that when they were on somebody else's campus. So, I think you're just saying a whole lot right there when you talk about, like, when you go into the portal, and if you're University of Georgia, you have to be ultra selective and you have to be really careful on who you can bring in because – you might be bringing in a guy on paper who's got a lot of talent, but if he's going to disrupt the room, that's a major red flag, first of all. And then also, you don't know if he's where you need him to be. So I loved what you said there. That's a lot, and I think that's something that for Georgia fans they have to really consider when you bring these guys in. But like a guy like Barnes, you briefly touched on him. Say what you want to about Dabo, and maybe he's not winning the way he was, but they do develop guys, and they have guys that go on to do good things. I think a guy like Barnes can come in and be a real upgrade at the position. Now, granted, there really wasn't a whole lot of other options at that position, but based on everything what you just said, all right, so based on everything you said, talking about developing and all that stuff, do you think Barnes fits the mold of a guy that is going to have ultimately have success here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's not a shot at Clemson, but hell, I mean, remember they got Dalen Everett like 2-3 days before signing day. He was committed to Clemson. Defensive coordinator takes a job at Oklahoma. Kid flips to Georgia. I'm like, that is the biggest steal out of that signing class. And Dalen Everett proved to be that. Go back to, getting Darian Kendrick. That was huge. And I'm trying to give him credit. Whoever is at Clemson and looks at defensive backs, they've been pretty good at it. I mean, didn't A.J. Terrell play there too? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, A.J. Terrell, Avion Terrell as well.
Yeah, I'm just saying. And Georgia tried to get him, but Clemson tried harder and they got him. So there's a long history of good defensive backs coming from Clemson, and a kid like Barnes, with all the starts, almost 1,700 snaps. I'll take that. I mean, that's definitely, the ACC's, not the SEC, but it's different than playing at, like the ECU kid, Jamarly Riddle. I've heard great things about it. And to me, if you get 63 tackles your first year and 70 tackles your second year, I don't care who you're playing. You are a tackling machine. You had 3 interceptions your first year, 3 interceptions your second year. That's legit. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You're stealing the ball from somebody and you're getting people to the ground. So that's more production. Both of those numbers would have been second on Georgia's team, either in receptions in interceptions or tackles. So I'm like, this guy can play. Khalil Barnes can play. You talk to people about Gentry from Oklahoma. They're like, look, when he was healthy, this guy started a bunch of games and was an absolute playmaker. But he's been banged up the last 2 years. So I'm like, what did Georgia need? They needed help in the secondary. They needed help at wide receiver. They needed help as an edge rusher. and they definitely filled up the secondary. 4 guys. They brought in an edge rusher from Auburn who's watched a few clips. I'm like, damn, this kid's pretty good. And then Isaiah Canyon's proven. Georgia went against him. This guy had a lot of yardage, big receiver. So if I'm Georgia, I'm like, okay, these are guys I'm bringing in to have that immediate impact Dan's talking about. The guy's coming, if he's a starter somewhere else, when he comes to Georgia, he expects to start. And you've only got him for a limited amount of time. When Koby was playing, it was JUCO guys. You didn't bring a JUCO guy in as a project. You brought a JUCO guy in to start,
Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, he's like, I got to have him. I got to have production out of him. I can't wait 2-3 years. He doesn't have 2-3 years. So I'm with you, Dan. If you're going to go in the portal, and you got to be very selective. A lot of guys want to come to Georgia. And Georgia's like, you're a year away, you're 2 years away. And maybe that kid from USC, I can't even remember his name. Maybe
Braylon,
that's
Conley.
Maybe that's a project guy, but no, you're expecting Barnes to fight for a spot. I expect him to have an immediate impact. You're expecting Isaiah Canyon to be out there right off the bat. You're expecting Amaris Williams to be in your rotation like he was at Auburn. He was a rotational attack dog, from on third downs and such. So you want that immediate impact, but they're not going for guys like, oh, this guy will be good in a couple of years.
And I think, like you're saying, when I look at, when we're talking about like guys that are ready now, guys that can contribute now, we're moving towards a 9-game SEC schedule starting this upcoming season. We got to have bodies. And I hate to be that way about people, but like you have to have bodies. You have to have guys that know how to practice, that know how to go to class, that even if they don't really go to class a lot anymore, you got to have guys that know how to do things in a very professional way. And I think that's where you think about, and when I look at this list, you're talking about you may be taking a shot on Gentry Williams that's been hurt, has some injury problems. Man's been at Oklahoma. Man knows how to practice. He knows how to sit in meetings. He knows how to, study defense and offense. He knows how to do things in ways that are similar to how Kirby is. The things he's been asked to do at Oklahoma are going to at least be similar to how he's going to be asked to do things at Georgia. Not going to be the same. You look at that list. Guy from Kentucky. Kirby loves the way Kentucky operates, right? He has been asked to do similar things. Clemson, same way. Man's won, whether you love him, hate him, think he's fallen off a little bit. He's won 2 national championships at Clemson. They do things the right way. I look at maybe ECU, Alabama A&M, schools like that. Those are those guys that I worry, like Radi was talking about with the safeties. They were big fish in little ponds, and you throw them into our pond, and there can be that sense of shock, that sense of, holy cow, I didn't realize that this was what it was like. I didn't realize. I mean, I thought about, they posted a video today of them like off-season conditioning, winter workout starting. I mean, that stuff's different. That first 2 weeks for those guys is going to be some of the most intense 2 weeks because, one, you're like trying to actively survive, and 2, you're also trying to like build these relationships with your fellow players and the coaches that you belong here. You don't want to be the guy that shows up and, I never will forget Isaiah Wilson, all-world, number 2 recruit in the country, 5-star offensive tackle, all the things, didn't enroll early, and he showed up in June, and he fat, and he could not even finish. I don't think he did 3 sprints the first day of outdoor conditioning, and he just couldn't do it, right? Like, he was out of shape. He was like 380, and he couldn't run at all. And it's just like, at some point, right then, scratch that, man, red shirt. I mean, I knew immediately that he would have to. He'd have to adjust. He just wasn't ready, of no fault of his own. I mean, dude was right out of high school. No, not everybody comes in at 18 and just plays. But it is amazing how quickly you can realize that adversity hits some people, and it's like, they're just not going to be ready. Like, they're going to have to take 6 months to transition and adjust before they're ever ready to like apply that to a field. So I think that's the biggest thing for these guys, to get in early and to get that out of their system. So when Because I don't even understand how spring ball is working this year. Are we not having spring ball? It's kind of gray on spring ball. Like,
I believe
I
spring ball's
think
still going as usual, isn't it? It's
Okay,
just
I thought
the
that-
spring game won't be a thing. Well, it won't be
Okay.
televised.
okay.
Roddy may
Yeah,
know more
well, a
than
lot of
me.
people say, well, they won't televise the games because we don't want people stealing the kids out of the portal. I'm like, yeah, well, there's not a second portal out window, so your justification for not televising the spring game is now null and void. And that was a stupid justification to begin with. But Koby, you're right about. I remember Isaiah. I was in Orlando watching him at the Under Armour All-American game, and he couldn't practice. Now, 6 months before he got to Georgia, he was on the sideline. He was in that Florida heat, December heat. Okay, this isn't Florida in June. This is Florida in December, or actually January. It's a week after. It was after the first, and he's got this wet towel on his head. He's dying, and I remember reaching out to Georgia, going, "Y'all, your boy's fat. You know, he's a hell of a player, but he went 2 reps and he's done." But kind of touching on what Dan said, the impact guys. That's why I was excited about ECU's Jamari Riddle, because I'm like, 133 tackles. That, and then Dante Dowdell. This is a guy who's talking about fitting in and getting ready for it. We know that Kentucky and Khalil Barnes of Clemson, they practice the right way. This won't be a shock to their, and they can step, because Dowdell, when he was in Nebraska, got 600 yards, was their leading rusher. The next year he goes to Kentucky. So, welcome to SEC football. Put up 500 yards. Third year, 600 yards, 500 yards. If you come to Georgia in year 4, big rusher, stronger than you have been, and you can give Georgia 500 yards, well, hell, now you're their second leading rusher. So, just saying, this is a kid who's proven it, as Dan said, and has gone through, won't be shocked, like Koby says, by the work requirements, because, hell, this is you're right. I think in that little video they showed the guys, and of course they started with Justin Williams and Chris Cole, which lets you know where their media team is going to be focused this year.
Can't blame
I could have sworn I heard Scott Sinclair saying, all right, this is first day, you got 7 weeks. And my interpretation of that was they had 7 weeks until the start of spring practice. So this is their conditioning to get ready for spring, when there are going to be a lot of open positions come spring practice.
Roddy, I had a question for you. It's not portal related, but it's just college football related. So I know you cover college football for a living, and when you see what's happening in the basketball side of college, where you have guys who now have played in actual NBA games, getting granted eligibility to come back and play college basketball, right? I mean, first of all, it's absurd. All right, can we just start there? It's absurd.
Just kill me.
So the question I have for you, because you talk to a lot of people, you're around a lot of different people. I want to know, in your mind, how long before we see somebody try that crap in college football, where maybe a guy doesn't get drafted where he wants to and tries to come back? How long? I mean, is it this year, next year, or I mean, how long? Because it's going to happen.
Yeah, in the next 15 minutes, Dan. I mean, Jesus, if I'm an agent and my guy declares for the draft, and let's say he goes to the combine starts February 26th, something like that. And let's say he runs poorly, or, pulls a hamstring during, because they're all off now working on their 40 times and bench presses and, L drills and cone drills and all that stuff. Let's say a guy gets banged up and you're like, oh, well, I want him to go back to school, because the school had offered him, let's say Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson tears his rotator cuff. He's already been offered $6.5 million to be a quarterback. Ty's like, oh, I'm going to go back and play my last year of college football. And the NCAA and the NFL said, well, no, you can't do that. You've declared for the draft. He's like, what the hell does that mean? The NCAA hasn't won a court case since Koby was playing. I mean, there's talk about paper tigers. So they're going to be done. And the reason it works out that all these guys are winning their court cases is just the way the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, everything in our government and our laws are designed for you to be able to make a living. And if you come to somebody and say, hey, we've got this arbitrary law that prevents you from getting paid, it's almost always struck down. Which is why, and the first thing you're going to see, Dan, is somebody say, look, I'm going to sue the NFL to say that I don't have to wait 3 years before I can go to the NFL. I'm just saying. But did he win it?
No, Maurice Clarett did not win.
Right. Now, what happens when Jeremiah Smith does it? Which he should have done last year.
The NFLPA is an extremely strong union, and
Yep.
they've got the players' interest at best, and more college kids coming in is bad for business for the people who are already in the players' union. So that's how they're not winning that. But the NCAA doesn't have a strong organization. So that you're right, Roddy. You're 100% right. Yeah. Coming back down.
Yeah, it is a situation where they're like, okay, well, we have our collective bargaining agreement, we're doing it for player safety. Those justifications, yeah, they work once, they work twice, they work 3 times. But the more you go at it, you get a different judge, you venue shop, and then you get a judge going, no, the NFL can't tell you that you can't play. And you say it's about player safety. Well, this kid's willing to go out there and do it. It's a dangerous game. He got hurt in college. So it's the same damn game. So we're not going to let you use the player safety thing. And this kid doesn't want to be a part of your union. Not all judges believe in unions and believe that you have to be in a union to go. So they're going to say, you're going to see somebody say, look, I refuse to be held by the collective bargaining arrangement, and I want to sue the NFL for antitrust. And you're going to have a lawyer say, hell, I'll take the case. And my point is, it keeps going to court, and eventually, just because we don't like telling people they can't make money, if you look at just the sheer amount of laws that say, look, you can't hinder someone from making, which is why NIL has passed, and why every time someone tries to enforce it, say, look, well, you've had your 4 years, you're done. And they're like, oh no, I got hurt that year, I want to come back. I got hurt 2 years, I want to come back. I got hurt 2 years, plus I had the COVID year. You got guys playing 8-9 years now. It's ridiculous. So I'm just telling you, you're going to have guys who are going to come back or try to come back to college, or at least saying, look, I went to the UFL. I still had another year. The UFL doesn't have the same agreement. I want to go back and get my master's degree. And it's an arbitrary rule where you say, I've got 5 years to play for. The minute that somebody is successful against that, because you've got the precedent, hey, we've got guys playing 5, 6, 7 years. It didn't hurt them. They were able to go back, and they're able to make money now. You're preventing my client from making $1 million this year. Some judge is going to say the NCAA is not allowed to say, 5 years to play for. Now they're talking 5 to play 5. I mean,
I think that's the next eligibility.
Well, that's the next thing that I think about, to me, that people are going to start getting around is, I lost a redshirt year because I played in 5 games, and at the time that counted against my redshirt. But now redshirt, you can play in 9 games and be redshirted. Mm-hmm. So that really shouldn't have counted against me in my eligibility. I should be granted 1 more year, because under the current laws, it would have been a redshirt year, even though I appeared. I think that'll be the next caveat that you'll see some of these guys sneaking in is, all of a sudden you play 2 years of JUCO, you get redshirted, not really redshirted a year in the NCAA, and all of a sudden you're looking at a 6th, 7th year all over again. Yep. And that one won't be hard, I feel like, to get overturned. Is all of a sudden somebody played in a 5th game and it counted against them. That'll be an easy fix now that they've opened the door at 9, which at that point, that's too many. I mean, at some point, just let them. You got 5 years, figure it out, go crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you. But to Dan's question, each time you move the Overton window over, it's like, hey, let's keep moving it. Here's our thought process. Here's what's acceptable. Each time you move it, it's like the next time it goes before a judge, they're gonna be like, no, you're already letting guys play 6, 7 years, so this client, or this plaintiff, we're going to side with him against the NCAA or against the NFL or against the Players Association or against whoever the hell he's suing, against the college presidents. It's something's going to change, Dan, because it's the money's getting too crazy. and there's less and less control. But the funny thing is, as much as we complain about it, the sport is only getting more popular.
Radi, kind of going off that, I got two questions. I don't know, Dan, Koby, let me know before, because if y'all got more, we'll keep them. I got two for you. All right, first off, kind of going off the back of kind of the conversation y'all just went down. Jerry Moorhead, UGA president, kind of made headlines the other week talking about if something doesn't change in regard to people signing the CSC document or Congress getting involved and passing down rules so they can legislate, saying if they don't act, the SEC is going to have to act. In any conversations, have you kind of heard more rallying of support in terms of conferences kind of regionalizing this thing and going off to do their own thing to try and legislate themselves without having to abide by the lame duck NCAA rules that aren't even rules anymore?
Oh yeah, I mean the discussion of going off doing their own thing started when NIL started, because they were against it. They're like, no, this is. I mean, they knew they were letting that genie out of the bottle, so they were already like, look, and the NCAA had lost plenty of cases prior to that. And what people would, this was always my pet peeve when people would complain about the NCAA. And trust me, I was at the forefront of it. I have, if you go do a Twitter search, there's some nasty tweets out there by me about the NCAA. But I've always said the NCAA is a voluntary organization. You're not forced to be a part of it. The presidents are the ones who go into it voluntarily. Who makes all those NCAA rules? The presidents. So the presidents now are in charge or are members of a toothless organization. They have to fix it. And having Jerry Moorhead come out and being, I think he was the first in the SEC to say, look, we're going to have to do our own thing if this doesn't get fixed. I don't know if he drew the short straw or he's just a great leader or what, but he came out, somebody had to come out and say it. And again, you're moving that thought window over one way or the other. And yeah, sports pundits like you guys had mentioned the NCAA is a paper tiger. There's no point in it. It's not doing anybody any good. They can't enforce anything. They keep losing. Maybe there needs to be a super conference or just go out on your own. It could be, it's okay if maybe Kirk Herbstreit said it or Paul Feinbaum said it or you guys said it. Once you have a athletic director or a university president saying it, now it means a hell of a lot more. So I think that's exactly, you're going to have to kind of do your own thing. And I think the SEC is really kind of ticked off about being browbeaten into taking a ninth game. The coaches didn't want it. A lot of the athletic directors didn't want it. But what do the athletic directors need? They need to find $20.5 million that they didn't need the past few years. So now their arms were twisted behind their backs into revenue sharing. Now they're having to add another game. They're basically having to pimp out their schools to hit this revenue, and they're not happy about it. So I can definitely see them going their own way, but they too will probably lose in the court. So it's going to be I don't know what the solution is.
On an unrelated note, I think this is a question many fans or a narrative that fans have been pushing back against. And yes, this question comes with the UGASports social media channels in mind. Radi, what's the true story with Carson Beck in Georgia? Every single week for the last 16 weeks, there's been the narrative that Carson's time at Georgia isn't remembered fondly, and kind of made it seem like Drew Butler said he bear crawled from Athens to Miami. Is that true from what you know?
Well, he was.
That's what you can publicly share.
Yeah, he was born the son of a poor sharecropper. He was beaten daily, growing up down in Florida. It was a brutal life. When he finally got to Georgia, he was chained to a radiator in the Butts-Mehre basement, only given dead rats to eat and stale water, and was only let out to throw 700 passes until his arm fell off. And that was his life at Georgia. So when he finally escaped, they left the window unlatched and he was able to get out of the Butts-Mehre building. he ran off and went to the freedom land of Miami, where he met a nice girl and settled down and finally loved football again. So that's the Carson Beck story. Or what really happened was the guy came to Georgia and he was mediocre. He was a mediocre quarterback. He was basically told, you're not what we thought you were. And to be fair, when he got at Georgia, it was like the first year of COVID. He gets to Athens, and I think he's basically stuck in a hotel room. It's just it was not good, that part. But everybody was going through the COVID lockdowns. It wasn't good for anybody. So trust me, that part sucked. But they basically saw him throw, and they're like, "You're not as good as we thought." And I thought he would transfer. He got his chance to lead the team. When JT Daniels got hurt, and he was given the first team offense, and he went out there and in 6 plays, he did not fare well. So they put in Stetson Bennett. We broke that news. Everybody thought we were full of crack, thought we were on dope, whatever. And it turned out that against UAB, Stetson Bennett got in there and did Stetson Bennett things. So I think Carson got in there and threw an interception. But point being, after he sat by to give Carson all the love in the world, he was told he wasn't a good quarterback, or wasn't as what they thought. He got his chance because remember they named him the number 2, the backup, and when he got his shot to go, he kind of peed down his leg. He had to sit behind Stetson Bennett for 2 years. This is a guy that he was ahead of on the depth chart, and he sat for another 2 years, and he got better. The kid worked his ass off, became fantastic. All of a sudden, we're starting to hear, hey, remember how we told you Carson Beck's not any good? He's gotten a 1,000 times better. The kid reinvented himself, came out, gets his first year start. They go undefeated in the regular season, sets the Georgia single season completion percentage record. I mean, first shot out of the box, first rattle out of the box. Comes back the next year, gets Georgia to the SEC championship game, gets hurt. Then after he gets hurt, he basically goes incognito mode. They can't find him. They can't keep up with him. They don't know, like, where the hell did he go? We reported he went out to California to get a second opinion on his arm. And hell, we knew what was wrong before the game was over. We reported exactly what happened. And Kirby didn't say anything. At halftime, we told everybody, hey, he's got a UCL injury, and we know people, and we got the skinny. So point being, for almost 3, definitely 2 weeks, almost 3, he wasn't answering the phone. He wasn't talking to Georgia. So they didn't know what's the latest, what's going on with you. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, that staff over there, when one of their players is injured, they move heaven and earth to take care of him. I mean, hell, you saw what they did with Devin Gales. My son hurt his ACL and reached out to one of them to say, hey, can you give me some advice? They put me in touch with the team doctor. He performed the surgery last week. Great guy. Dr. Gordon, he's fantastic. He's the one that does it for all these athletes. And my son's an athlete, and he took care of him just out of a courtesy. So my point is, these guys will move heaven and earth to take care of you. They will get you all the latest tests, all the latest therapies, all the best procedures. And they couldn't talk to Carson Beck because he wouldn't answer the phone. He wouldn't speak to them. And they had to go with the other quarterback because he's obviously out. They knew he wasn't coming back. And it just left a kind of a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So he's told them, hey, I'm going pro. And then he changed his mind and goes to Miami. Did not give Georgia a shot to, hey, if I come back, can I get what kind of deal can you work out? Can you match what Miami's offering? That was never an option. So in other words, the narrative that it sucked at Georgia, the guy was there, 5 years. He graduated. He played for 2 years, won them a lot of games, and then went to Miami and almost won a title. So I don't know why the narrative is that things sucked. He was in Athens with a hot influencer girlfriend, a Lambo, a jet deal that flew him to Miami whenever he wanted to go. So if that's a hardship, then sign me up for that hardship. Give me the smoking hot influencer and who's got a cute sister. Let me give me the sports car and the jet deal and that offensive line, and let me throw to Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey for my first year. I'll sign up for that. So I don't understand I get it. We deal in narratives. Dan, you were talking about covering college football. We create narratives, we reinforce them, we hear somebody else say them, and then we just repeat them so that it becomes the gospel because you heard it from 16 different people. But sometimes the truth of it is absolutely non-existent. It's just one person painted the narrative and everybody repeated it. And that's exactly what happened with Carson Beck.
Koby, Dan, y'all got anything else? That was my final two for Radi. That's all I had loaded in the chamber. I wanted to ask that last one, really, because I know there's been a lot of people talking about it. I was like, let's go ahead and let them clear the narrative.
No, we could talk another half hour on that, but I'm good to let Radi go for my 2 cents worth. I mean, that guy played a lot of meaningful snaps here, but I do think that there is a truth behind, like, you can appreciate what you did here, but you can also then look back at it and realize that while you did some good things, you're Letterman. He always will be, right? He'll always have an undefeated season under his belt, a couple of national championship rings, a couple of SEC championship rings. But you can muddy waters on your way outdoors, and in my opinion, who cares for me what my opinion is, but he definitely muddied them, and to me I smiled watching the end of that game for sure. It just it is what it is, right? Like, I'm glad you're having a good time. I'm glad it's all sunshine and rainbows in Miami, and it is what it is.
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, right? Isn't that what they say?
Damn. Y'all some cold-blooded bastards, man.
No, listen, I mean, if we're being honest, if he plays against Notre Dame, I mean, I like our chances a hell of a lot more than, I think we win that football game and possibly have a chance to win a national title. So I'm not taking any of that away from him. But, there's no reason to burn the house down on the way out the door. You don't have to do that, right? You can leave and say, hey, listen, we had a good run at Georgia. This is a great opportunity for me. No ill will, just a new opportunity. It's not hard to do that. You didn't have to do it any other way. And I think that's where the animosity comes, at least for me. Have to burn the house down. But he did. He chose to. He wanted to throw fire, like Baker Mayfield yesterday, talking about, like, hey, Baker, did you not forget you're the one that asked for a trade? Like, come on, my guy. Anyway, I get frustrated with all these narratives, like you said, and I know it's the job, right? To create, you got to have people talking. You have to do it, but some of them just get so crazy, and I just wish we come back to earth every once in a while and just check in, because some of this stuff has gotten too crazy for me.
And he has said some nice things about Georgia, and he did do some moronic crap when on his way out. There's some petty things that you turn people off of you. And I get it if you are a freshman, sophomore, but dude, you're fifth year senior. Don't do that stuff, when you're leaving. And it could you could very easily come out and say, hey, I don't know where all this talk about Georgia, me having a bad time there comes from, but that's not what happened. I loved my time at Georgia. I got the rings to show for it, But I will tell you, the first thing that I heard about Carson Beck early on, this was that first year, second year, they're like, oh, he's a sourpuss. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. If they're going Pascal, and they're doing 7-on-7. If it's an incompletion, the guy always ran the wrong route, or the guy should have caught the pass. It's never his fault. He's just a sour dude. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good. And then you found out, well, he's not a very good quarterback. I'm like, well, okay, that's 0 for 2. But then I found out, oh, well, no, he's actually kind of a vocal leader, and he's got to be a great quarterback. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. And then they go undefeated, and you're like, good, this is awesome. And remember, everybody was so excited that Carson could have transferred but didn't, stuck around, took over for Stetson Bennett, led him to an undefeated season. You're like, hey, it's pretty damn good for your first year. Let's go see what you can do in year 2. And you got really excited, but you lost so much talent. So I'm with you. I mean, if he had gone out off to the NFL, he'd be considered, like the poster child for waiting your turn and being a damn good dog. And even if it's like, okay, he wound up transferring, it's all the quarterbacks in the portal, all the quarterbacks in the playoffs practically were transfer QBs. That's par for the course now. But some of the stuff, some of the posts, some of the shots taken, you're right, Dan. It soured people, and it didn't have to happen. If you were a young guy, you remember Brenton Cox when he left, everybody's like, thank God that son of a bitch is gone. When you have a situation like that, maybe he grew up and got better later, but you're like, okay, he's a young guy, but you can't have your 5th-year senior, doing TikTok dances, kind of crapping on your school. It's like, dude, don't be that guy. So I'm with you, Dan. I wish him success. I hope he does well in the NFL, but what I didn't want to see happen was him get the ball with a minute left, down 6 for the national championship, drive the length of the field, throw the game-winning touchdown, and have to deal with the entire offseason of he couldn't win it at Georgia, but he won it in Miami because Georgia sucks. And so when he threw the interception, I put out a tweet I shouldn't have, which is, hey, that's the Carson Beck we all know and love, the guy that had 9 interceptions in 3 games against 3 of Georgia's rivals, but that's what we saw that second year, and again, maybe he's trying to force it, but again, it was always somebody else's fault. The 2 games they lost this year, somebody else's fault.
The Louisville game, he threw everybody under the bus.
And walked off the field like I can't say that.
Yeah, he did.
I want to say him on attack.
Radi, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody in the comments, thank you also for being here. This is going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Dawg Talk podcast. That's Dan Kiley. That's Koby Pyrz. That's the boss man, Radi Nabulsi. I'm Harrison Reno. We'll see you next week.
Go Dogs.